Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday presided over the first Council of State meeting of his administration, which included both physical and virtual participation. Attendees included Vice President Kashim Shettima, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, former Presidents Muhammad Buhari and Goodluck Jonathan, who were physically present, while retired Generals Abdusalami Abubakar and Yakubu Gowon joined virtually. Also in attendance were state governors, several ministers, and former chief justices of Nigeria. However, former President Olusegun Obasanjo was visibly absent. This marks Tinubu's first Council of State meeting since assuming office 14 months ago, and it comes 18 months after the council last convened on February 10, 2023, under former President Buhari. Earlier, our Abuja bureau chief, who is on ground in Abuja, spoke to us on this.
The State of the Nation, the key attendees of that meeting are former presidents, where the president gets to brief them on exactly what is ongoing in the nation. The meeting was convened and began a few hours ago, and many believe it will not be unconnected to the End Bad Governance protests, the high cost of goods and services, the inflation being witnessed, and also the demands being muted by the group known as the Patriots, comprising elder statesmen who are calling for restructuring of the current government and a change of the nation's constitution back to the constitution we had at independence, 1960 and 1963. They want this reviewed so that that was the demand of the Patriot. So many believe that this Council of State meeting was called at the instance to consider these issues, where the president will brief them on steps being taken to address current challenges being witnessed.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu is set to depart Abuja on Wednesday for a 3-day official visit to Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, at the invitation of President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo. The president's special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngalale, confirmed the details of the visit in a statement released on Tuesday. During the visit, Tinubu will hold discussions with President Mbasogo at the presidential villa in Malabo. Their talks will center on key bilateral issues with a strong emphasis on oil and gas as well as security. Several agreements aimed at enhancing cooperation between Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea in these sectors are expected to be signed. Away from that, we tell you that the reinstated chairman of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State, Emeka Beke, has reaffirmed its leadership and announced the party's participation in the upcoming October local government elections. This directly contradicts the stance of his predecessor, Tony Okocha, who had challenged the polls in court. During a meeting of the Inter-Party Advisory Council in the state, Beke emphasized the need for political stability in Rivers State. In the meantime, the IPAC chairman has called for the prosecution of those responsible for attacking the Action People's Party office and demanded the immediate withdrawal of police from local government secretariats. Meanwhile, the caretaker committee of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State, led by Tony Okocha, has rejected the judgments delivered by Justice Sika Akpioku of the Rivers State High Court on Monday. The judgment was in response to a suit filed by Sam Etetekwong challenging the dissolution of the State Working Committee in Rivers State due to alleged anti-party activities during the 2023 general election. According to Chibike Ikenga, Publicity Secretary of the Caretaker Committee, the party had earlier petitioned the Chief Judge of Rivers State to recuse Justice Akpioku from the case, citing concerns about his impartiality. However, the petition was ignored. Ikenga stated that the matter was not a vacation case, but was adjourned and surprisingly brought back during the vacation period without any urgency or time constraints. The party is questioning the judge's decision to proceed with the case despite the objections. Joining us to discuss this is the chairman, Rivers State Ethnic Youth Leaders Coalition, Ledosi Yamabana. Thank you so much, Ledosi, for joining us on the news. All right, it's nice to have you around. Now, what kind of anti-party activities during the 2023 general elections was the State Working Committee accused of, and how valid are the claims? Hello, Lugbosi, can you hear me? I think we seem to be having a technical hitch there with the Dosi's network, but then we'll try to reconnect with him to ensure that we have quality feedback from him during the course of this news or maybe in our subsequent bulletins. Let's move on now to tell you that the Speaker, Emmanuel Emeruwa, has finally inaugurated Aaron Uzodike as member representing Aba North State Constituency 8 months after the Independent National Electoral Commission presented him with the certificate of return as the duly elected lawmaker. The Court of Appeal had ruled in favor of Uzodike of the People's Democratic Party, sacking Destiny Mwagu of the Labour Party since November 2023. Several calls to inaugurate Uzodike after the appeal court's ruling fell on deaf ears as the leadership of the House cited legal reasons for not performing that assignment. Aaron Uzodike's inauguration as a legislator brings the number of the People's Democratic Party's members to 12. Away from that to this health-related set of stories, President Bola Tinubu has approved the National Policy on Health Workforce Migration, a strategic initiative designed to tackle the significant challenges facing Nigeria's healthcare human resources. This announcement was made by the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, who stressed that the policy extends beyond merely reacting to the ongoing exodus of healthcare professionals. According to him, it represents a comprehensive strategy to manage, harness, and ultimately reverse the trend of health worker migration. Pate highlighted that the policy addresses the critical challenges confronting Nigeria's healthcare workforce. He added that as the AU champion for human resources for health and community health delivery partnership, Tinubu's commitment to building a resilient and robust healthcare system is powerfully embodied in this forward-looking story. Now, the Gombe State Commissioner of Health, Dr. Habu Dahiru, has announced that the State Public Health Emergency Operations Center has been placed on alert following confirmed and suspected cases of diphtheria in Awagana ward in Gombe State. Diphtheria, which is caused by Corynebacterium diphtheriae, is a vaccine-preventable disease characterized by severe throat and respiratory infections that could lead to death if untreated. Dahiru disclosed that the state has recorded 3 suspected cases and 1 confirmed case of diphtheria. He stressed the availability of vaccines for diphtheria prevention, especially for children, at primary health centers across Gombe State, and urged parents and guardians to ensure prompt vaccination of their children to safeguard them from this potentially fatal disease. Now, in a nation where the hum of mosquitoes can be a death sentence, a long-awaited solution has sparked both hope and fear. For decades, malaria has plagued Nigeria, but a new vaccine offers a promising breakthrough. Yet, as rollout approaches, mounting fears threaten to overshadow the progress. News Central's Adeshebo Dushoga investigates the controversy surrounding the malaria vaccine in this report.
For decades, malaria has loomed large over Nigeria, inflicting a devastating toll on the country, with Nigeria accounting for a staggering 31% of global cases. The disease has left a trail of suffering and death in its wake. In 2023, hope appeared on the horizon when the World Health Organization approved 2 groundbreaking vaccines, RTSS, AS01 and R21 Matrix M. While this breakthrough was met with global optimism, Nigeria's anticipation has been tempered by rising unease. Concerns have emerged about potential health risks associated with RTSS vaccine. Nigerian Dr. Philip Njamanze has voiced urgent concerns writing to the National Assembly about the vaccine's safety and ethical implications.
After the first 2 years, the incidence of malaria actually rises, it doesn't decrease. So the result is far less impressive. Then there was even more troubling data. When you look at the data for the female participants, you will see that there was a higher mortality in female subjects.
In response to these allegations, New Central TV contacted the Director General of NAFDAC for a reaction. During a phone conversation, the director stated that the RTSS vaccine is not currently in Nigeria. Central to the controversy is the vaccine's potential side effect, cerebral malaria and cerebral meningitis, both which are severe and life-threatening conditions that have heightened public anxiety.
Some of these things you need to go through various, laboratory processes so that we as Africans to be able to be sure that by taking these such vaccines or taking some of these vaccines, it is not going to affect.
It would have been a good thing if there's vaccine and it's genuine, but it needs to be subjected to thorough scrutiny.
As the debate over the malaria vaccine intensifies, one thing is certain: the health and safety of Nigerians must remain paramount. Will the government prioritize caution, or will the drive for progress prevail? The nation holds its breath, awaiting a decision that could impact millions. In Lagos for News Central, Adishawa Odushoga.
In recent years, Lagos is one of the many Nigerian states with a high vulnerability to climate change. This vulnerability is mostly revealed by extensive damage during flood incidences and storms. With the dramatic shifts in weather patterns that has been experienced in recent years, News Central's Bettina Anbeli tries to give perspective to the intense heat wave in February and the surprising coolness of the weather since July.
In February, Lagos experienced an unusual severe heat wave. This period of extreme heat saw temperatures soar well above the historical averages, often reaching highs of 38 to 40 degrees Celsius. Residents faced unprecedented discomfort in going about their daily activities. Schools and businesses had to adapt to harsh conditions, with many people taking extra precautions to avoid heat-related illnesses.
I don't sleep in the night just because of this heat. But what I do is I hydrate. I try as much as possible to drink a lot of water, just so I'll be able to cope with the heat.
This heat is too much. It's too much. This one, no food, nothing, but the heat don't come to die.
Fast forward to July, and the heat wave in Lagos suddenly changed to an unusual drop in temperatures. While July is typically one of the cooler months due to the rainy season, this year brought a refreshing and unexpected coolness, much more than is usual for the time of the year.
I love it because I eat it.
It's been a while since we've had this weather, and I will not lie to you, I like the weather. It should just continue like this for the next 1 year.
The cooler conditions since July might seem like a relief, but they are part of a broader pattern of climatic instability. Changes in weather patterns, including unusual cold spells, are often linked to shifts in atmospheric circulation and ocean temperatures.
When you see Lagos for some time, you see there is rainy season in some area is not raining. So what are the main causes of this is because of the development and the rising of greenhouse gas emission that is affecting the environment itself. We need to start to look at Lagos, the excessive heat in Lagos and the exceptional low temperature are probably caused in part of the issue that we say climate change. I think NIMET and some other related agencies need to now start looking at an accurate, even not really accurate, an accurate modeling that can actually help us in the issue of our temperature scenario in Lagos.
The contrasting weather patterns observed in Lagos highlights the complexities of climate change. While the heat waves remind us of the growing intensity of global warming, the cooler spells underscore the unpredictability of our changing climate. As we look ahead, it's crucial for Lagos and other regions to adapt to these changing conditions. Understanding and preparing for such extremes will help mitigate their impacts and improve resilience in communities. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Unwili.
Nice to know you're still there. Let's now bring you this business-related story. Nigerian refineries, including the Dangote refinery, have raised their domestic crude requirements for the second half of 2024 to 597,700 barrels per day from 483,000 barrels per day in the first half, the national oil regulator said, despite tight domestic supply. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission was only able to help secure 177,777 barrels per day from oil producers in the first 6 months of the year, way below what the refiners had asked for, it said in a statement. The NUPRC said oil producers could not satisfy the demands because some had operational challenges, while others pledged most of their output to traders who financed drilling. Dangote Refinery has accused the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission of failing to enforce a law that requires all oil producers to supply domestic refiners, saying in a statement on Friday that this laxity in enforcement has been raising its operational costs. Earlier, we had Bedford Berefa spokesman Ijo Youth Council Worldwide talk on this.
Just a statement of facts. If you see the antecedents recently, as regards to the oil and gas sector, even the former president of this country, our grandfather, Olusegun Obasanjo, also he made that very, very explicit even when he was there. The monumental corruption that has endangered the oil sector over the decades is alarming, and the Dangote refinery has come to expose that reality. It bothers the fact that a local refinery is available in the country, yet with the huge amount of food production per day, you will see that the level of low supply to the Dangote refinery is crazy. It is a tale that shouldn't be said. It shouldn't be even come to the public space. It is quite saddening that the monumental corruption that has saddled the NNPC over the years. It is this time. It needs to end now.
Earlier on the news, we told you that the caretaker committee of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State, led by Tony Okocha, rejected the judgment delivered by Justice Sika Akrioko of the Rivers State High Court on Monday, and the judgment was in response to a suit filed by Sam Etetekong challenging the dissolution of the State Working Committee in Rivers State due to alleged anti-party activities during the 2023 general election. And to give more perspective to these right now, I'm being joined by the chairman, Rivers State Ethnic Youth Leadership Coalition, Dodosi Yamabana. Thank you so much for joining us on the news. Dodosi, can you hear me now? Hello, Dodosi. I guess we've not been able to rectify the technical issue. Well, it's actually from his end anyway. But then we'll move on. The Kano Zonal Command of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons has received 12 rescued victims of human trafficking. The Zonal Commander, Abdullahi Babali, announced this on Tuesday in Kano while receiving the victims who were rescued by the Kano State Police Command. Babale said the police also arrested 3 suspects in connection with the alleged trafficking. He added that the rescued victims, all female, are aged between 15 and 40. Babale said the suspects will be charged to court upon completion of the investigation. Meanwhile, the Kano government has suspended the 24-hour curfew imposed in the state in response to looting and destruction of properties during the End Bad Governance protest. Baba Dantiye, Kano Commissioner for Information and Internal Affairs, announced the suspension of the curfew during a state broadcast on Monday. On August 1, Abba Yusuf, governor of Kano, imposed a 24-hour curfew in the state following reports of violence during the protest. The 10-day nationwide protest against bad governance and economic hardship commenced on August 1, and on August 2, the governor relaxed the curfew by 5 hours to enable Muslim worshippers observe Jumat prayers. The commissioner said the governor lifted the curfew completely due to the satisfactory and improved security situation in the state. Still in the north, we tell you that no fewer than 5 terrorists have been killed by troops deployed for counter-terrorism operations in the Bama local government area of Borno State. The troops of the Nigerian army in the operation conducted on August 12, 2024, in addition to killing the terrorists, recovered bombs, a rocket-propelled gun, and 6 motorcycles, among others. In a statement on Tuesday, the army on X said 44 Boko Haram terrorists and their families surrendered to troops deployed at Bama, Dikwa, and Goza local government areas of Borno State. The statement further said 32 rustled cows were found on the person of Mawuya Shaibu, a well-known cattle rustler who was apprehended by troops in Plateau State. Nigeria has called for the support of the countries of Iceland, Sweden, Finland, Norway, and Denmark in its quest to obtain a permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council. This was as ministers from the 5 Nordic countries paid a visit to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs called for more collaboration with the 5 countries, saying Africa's largest democracy has much to learn from their stability and success.
We're looking to engage to learn so much from all the countries because the Nordic region is one that excels in terms of a circular economy. This is something that we feel we can do a lot together. Your triple helix is something also that we're monitoring and admiring from a distance. We want to see how we can benefit from that mutually. And there's several other areas that I think we can delve further into.
Many thanks for staying with us. Now, as the world celebrated International Youth Day on Monday, young and aspiring new generation of leaders in Africa are meeting in Liberia's capital to help shape future of their respective countries in the positive direction. During the opening session of the event, Secretary Program Officer, Democracy and Human Rights, Nicolina Stelland, noted that it's in order for democratic developments to advance, and it takes more than just laws, regulations, and elections. U.S. Ambassador to Liberia, Mark Toner, in his opening statement, encouraged the young aspiring leaders to seize the opportunity to hone and better their leadership abilities. Joining us now to speak more on this is the Special Assistant to the Delta State Governor on Student Affairs, Obaro Egagifo. Thank you so much, Mr. Egagifo, for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much for having me.
So let's start this way. How does the meeting plan to actually address the need for capacity building and skill development among young leaders in various sectors?
Oh, yes. First, I want to commend you for having me this evening. For me, it's a pleasure to share my thoughts and views, particularly as it relates to this year, World Day on International Youth. The program, it has been held. This is our second day. The opening ceremony was yesterday. This is our second day. The program is that impactful. It's a developmental program, a program that has to do with enhancing youth leadership and their skills for national and continental development. I can assure you that it's a program that has been going on for quite some time now. This is cohort 11 from what we have seen, and we as participants of cohort 11, it has been a very life-transforming journey, I must say. Program continue. I must commend the organizer, which is the young political School Africa, which is organizing this program along with their other developmental partners.
So I'm looking at some discussions from that particular meeting. What strategies were actually proposed for enhancing collaboration and networking among young leaders across different African countries?
Well, the strategies are very, very enormous. You know, in today's day and age, the process of advocacy has actually turned from that stage where you just resort to the last stage of confrontation, other than exploring the other steps that are available to you as a person. So as a citizen, what we have learned or what we have been doing over the years is a process that tells you that as a young person, you have to develop yourself, you have to understand the institutions, you have to understand the dynamics of your environment. And again, most importantly that we have added, emotional intelligence as a young leader is very, very, very important. And it's key to whatever we are doing. Because when you understand that, you'll be able to relate it to your environment, you'll be able to, handle it for the betterment of your country, relating with the peculiarities of your country. And we must truly commend people that have contributed in no distant measure towards seeing that these programs are ahead in Africa, particularly developmental partners. And again, back home in Nigeria, I commend our governor who has taken it as a priority to always sponsor youth to attend this event on yearly basis. It's quite commendable. We must commend them for doing so. And again, among other African countries, you come here, you see the Uganda, you see the Ethiopia people, you see Sierra Leoneans, they are all here. We are sharing thoughts as it has to do with relate with our continent, our country in particular. We have sort of series of events that are happening in our home state, Nigeria. It was first of all the first one, NSAS protest, and recently you have the governance protest. And it's not Nigeria that only have the surge of youth. So it's something that calls for some sort of attention to be given to this demography so that you understand them. But you can't just tell me that you have a situation whereby you have paranoias in society for just for nothing. It is something that calls for some sort of retrospection among our leaders. So we must have a situation where we engage our youth and continuously engage them. And that's why I said that we must commend those that have made sure that this kind of developmental are possible vis-a-vis developmental partners, and particularly I must commend my principal, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Sheriff of Buhari, for the youth, sponsoring youth to attend this program.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you talked about the protests that happened in Nigeria a couple of days back. And of course, we had protests in other African countries. And that would actually show how active African youths are when it comes to governance and politics in their various domains. And you'd also look at the reaction of governors and of presidents to these kind of movements by these youths. Aside from leadership, are there other challenges that you can identify that may be affecting or impacting youth leadership in Africa negatively? And probably there are solutions to overcoming these challenges.
Yes, you see, they are. If you look at the program today, actually, they talked about the ease of the ease about development in our various states. Particularly, we're talking about Nigeria, talking about Ghana, talking about Liberia, talking about Sierra Leone. And you see that there is an underlying threat among all of them. And one that is prevalent is the issue of education and the issue of unemployment. So you see, these are not things that are just coming to just part of the continent. So for me, it's a call for African leaders to actually sit up, to look at these things critically and look at possible ways of addressing. But I mentioned something earlier. I said, you just see a demography of youth. Protests are not only happening in Nigeria, they're not happening in the continent of Africa. You see them, they are everywhere. So it's something that calls for some sort of retrospection among our leaders. What are those things that we are doing that we have not done so well? What are those things that we need to improve on? Because governance is all about the people. And I keep saying it that we must commend those that have made some deliberate efforts to see that this demography of people Because when you look at it, if you look at the situation, particularly in Nigeria, you see that the demography of the youth is a demography that no serious-minded leader would actually play with. So we must continuously engage the leadership to make sure that they talk with the youth, not talking at them. They have some sort of engagement, some sort of conversation. And we must commend various organizations that are doing it, and they are doing it so well. The government may not be doing it, but we have seen developmental partners that are doing these things. We have seen institutions. We are seeing officials of government that are taking some sort of responsibility that will give some sort of succor to the youth. So we must encourage it to continue. Because before you talk about a country, you must have a country before you can talk about governance. So when you have youth, a situation whereby youths are just at paranoia stage, nobody's had some sort of psychology in school. So the stage of paranoia will just come like that. So it's something that has to be continuous. But in the bottom line, to answer your question, other things that could be identified, they are so synonymous among the African countries. If you were in the hall today, you will hear the issues of corruption, you hear the issues of you hear the issue of education, you hear the issue of lack of opportunity, you hear the issue of lack of access. I mean, they are all issues that are a bit synonymous with the countries around the continent. The only peculiarity that we have come to realize is that for the case of Nigeria, it's a bit peculiar because of our nature, because of our population as a people. So it's something that really has to.
And we actually hope that concerted efforts.
Attention.
Yeah, I understand. And we actually hope that efforts will be made, to actually deal with those challenges to liberate the potential of the African youth. Thank you so much, Obaro Elgagefo, Special Assistant to the Delta State Governor, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Now, in the south of the continent, Africa, let's tell you that Lesotho has seen a rise in hunger among its populace due to severe drought, which has taken its toll on small-scale farmers. The drought that has been biting countries across southern African nations for months has left the land barren and bare. Malawi, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe have also declared disasters as the most severe El Nino-induced drought in a century scorches crops and kills livestock across the region.
And then if you really get like it about there, le palo e sa di milione tse pedi fela hona gore ke mkgona go mmuso itseng 700,000 ke batho ba nang le bothata mme is really go jwalo
ya mmaga ehlile ke na le letswalo leno la gore ka nako e nngwe go ka etsala ba go bale ba sa e ha maemo a ntse a tswela pele ka ona mokgona o ka etsala ba go bale ba sa go ba o sontse go na le gore a yang sekolong o santsana le gore a tsamaya sa.
Rate has risen to a near record in the second quarter of 2024, continuing a trend that has seen the number of unemployed people grow by more than 60% in 10 years. According to official data showed on Tuesday, the National Statistics Agency Stats SA says the unemployment rate hit 33.5% between April and June, up by 0.6% percentage points from the previous quarter. It adds that this is close to the record 35.3% reached in 2021 during the coronavirus pandemic. These new figures are the first official data since the country's slowing economy was the main priority of the newly formed coalition government, which was elected in May this year. In East Africa, senior leaders of Tanzania's main opposition party, Chadema, including Chairman Freeman Mbowe and Deputy Tundu Lissu, have been released on bail after being detained ahead of a youth rally. About 520 people were arrested nationwide to prevent the party from holding a parade in Mbeya. While some remain in custody for not meeting bail conditions, the arrests have sparked concerns about a return to the repressive tactics seen under former President John Magufuli. Despite current President Samia Suluhu Hassan's efforts to restore political freedoms, the police claimed the rally was banned to prevent violence. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for Africa to be granted a permanent seat on the UN Security Council as part of reforms addressing historical injustices. He highlighted that the Council's composition, dominated by its 5 permanent members, namely China, France, Russia, the UK, and the US, remains outdated, reflecting a post-World War II era when much of Africa was under colonial rule. Guterres noted that while the world has changed significantly since 1945, the Council has not kept pace despite minor adjustments. The African Union has long advocated 2 permanent and 2 additional non-permanent seats for Africa to better represent the continent's global role. From other continents, we tell you that Ukraine says it is not interested in taking over territory that it had captured during its cross-border incursion into Russia's Kursk region, calling Ukrainian operations there absolutely legitimate. Ukraine is not interested in taking over the territory of the Kursk region, but the country wants to protect the lives of its people, and that's according to the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Georgy Tikhi during a press conference.
Близько 1000 квадратних кілометрів Україна контролює території цієї операції. Я тут можу підкреслити те, що на відміну від Росії, Україні чуже не потрібно. Україна не зацікавлена в тому, щоб там забирати територію Курської області, але ми хочемо захистити життя своїх людей. Росії. А поки Путін цю війну продовжує, він буде отримувати від України такі відповіді, яких Україна потребує. І це абсолютно легітимні дії України, зокрема в рамках реалізації права на самозахист згідно з статутом ООН.
In business, NGX Industrial Accounts for the most capitalized and liquid companies on the NGX, as we saw it in terms of the significant rally at the beginning of the year. However, of late and just yesterday, one of the 3 leaders in the sector, BUA Cement, was more on the sell side and has been held responsible for the negative start to the new week. On market polls earlier today, Onabanjo, senior research analyst at Cardinal Stone Securities, gave some insights into this.
Yeah, you'd see that most of these companies saw very, very tremendous rally at the beginning of the year. And in our own view, as a house, we had, our own worries about this kind of rally because we thought, it wasn't particularly justified. It wasn't linked to any fundamentals per se. I mean, these companies were doing okay, but, early in the year, we had not seen how they were able to be able to mitigate some of the challenges of this year. So we thought it was a bit unjustified. I mean, very notably, and this is public news, right? We saw, the activities of the likes of Otedola in Dangote Cement, for instance, early this year, right? So the stock go to as high as almost 700, if I'm not mistaken, right? So those kind of things that are not necessarily justified by fundamentals, you would expect that other shareholders that hold those kind of stocks will want to take profits, from that kind of rally. And that's what we have been seeing over since that time, a lot of, profit taking. And then when you now look at the fundamentals, a lot of these companies, Dangote Cement, Boa Cement, they are grappling with significant foreign exchange losses. As you know, Boa Cement, took that IFC loan sometime in 2022. And so it's still reeling from, having to mismatch foreign exchange borrowings with, Naira earning, right? So that kind of mismatch is causing a problem. Dangote has operations in Pan-African countries, and of course, the company reports in Naira, and it has to borrow in foreign exchange in all those countries to meet up with the working capital needs. So all these factors put together are what is affecting them.
In sports, 2023-2024 President Federation Cup champion El Kanemi Warriors will play their CAF Confederations Cup home game against Jaje FC on Friday, August 16 at Remo Star Stadium in Ikenne. El Kanemi Warriors initially faced a scheduling uncertainty ahead of their first preliminary round fixture against the Benin side, originally set for Sunday, August 18. The Warriors were set to host Jaje at the Remo Star Stadium in Ikenne on Sunday after CAF restricted them from using the Moshood Abiola National Stadium in Abuja. The African Football Governing Body dismissed the MKO Stadium due to the poor condition of the pitch. El Kanemi enters the match highly motivated after receiving 35.2 million naira from the Borno state government for ending a 32-year trophy drought with their president's Federation Cup win. Let's tell you that Cole Palmer has signed a new Chelsea contract to extend his stay at Stamford Bridge until the year 2033. The 22-year-old attacking midfielder is now on a 9-year deal with improved terms after a sensational breakthrough season in West London. Palmer scored 25 goals and contributed 15 assists in 45 appearances during his first season at Chelsea after a £42.5 million move from Manchester City last summer. The Blues have been keen to reward the England international who scored in the 2-1 Euro 2024 final defeat by Spain in July with a deal which will be announced in the coming days. Palmer, who is on the shortlist for the PFA Player and Young Player of the Year awards to be announced next week, claimed the Premier League Young Player of the Season award for 2023-2024. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, we'll look at some of our top stories again. President Tinubu holds first Council of State meeting since assuming office, with former President Obasanjo visibly absent. Hunger cases on the rise as drought impacts on farmers in Lesotho. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres advocates permanent Security Council seat for Africa. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Arvo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.